This is how to repair your X52 when your throttle has power and your throttle's working, but you got no inputs or any LED glowing on your joystick side, but you still have the power indicator. Keep in mind, I made this video or this tutorial at about 2 a.m. in the morning, and so take it for what it's worth. Thanks. Okay, so this is the Saitek X52. I bought this for like $15 secondhand from like Value Village, a secondhand store, and of course you research the price, and it's not a cheap unit. Um, Now, when I finally got a PS2 male-to-male cable to connect this unit with uh, this unit right here, so I was like, sweet, now I can finally test it. This turned on, great, that's a good sign. But I noticed I'm like, okay, well, power light's on. Well, maybe this must be power. But I recall looking online, there's supposed to be lights here, here, maybe here. Um, it's supposed to glow up and also indicate that there's also other power. But as you can tell, like it shows here in the indicator light, if I unplug the cable, power's off. So if you just go and say you want to test it, uh, I went to my control panel. I just went to view devices and printers. And, okay, so I do get the drivers on. Another thing to check is to go to your device manager and to check your HID, your human interface devices. Yep, the HOTUS X52s are installed. There's no yellow triangles. I also checked my mouse, other pointers. Okay, no, sorry. If you right click on this, you can go to game controller settings. Everything's status okay. Go to properties, and then if you notice that what you see on the screen versus anything that I do here, Z-axis is going down. You can see buttons are being pressed. I can spin things to wide rotation. I'm just spinning that. But as I went over to here to test this out, you can see nothing. No keys, no buttons, no nothing. Nothing's being triggered. So from there on, I thought maybe it was a hardware failure. So what I first checked was, I was like, okay, this indicator light that says power, indicator light that says power over here. So we know somewhere's in between here and here, there's an issue. First, I'll make sure everything's plugged in. Make sure there's no wires. Check for see if any wires broke off these connections. So they're just flimsy wires, so you never know, one might be hanging. So just move it a little bit, give it a little push and tug, see if anything happens, see if anything's flopping around. So right here, as you can tell, there is this pin right here, which is your ground, your metal ground. Right here you have your, at this far end, you'll have your ground. Right beside that, you'll have your VCC. Um, First things first is you want to plug in your unit. Make sure your unit is plugged in. Take your PS2 cable. Take your PS2 cable and plug it in. So for VCC and ground, let's see what I'll read. All plugged in. I got 2.3 volts coming through. Coming through, you would want at least 5 volts. Okay, so maybe there's a power, maybe there's an issue here. So now you'd want to go and select continuity just to check to see if there is a breakage in the line. So if I know, or not breakage, if there's continuity in the line, I'm gonna hear beep. You'll see numbers come up on your ohm reader. So I wanted to go and check to see maybe see if my VCCs are connected. So I would go from this VCC to the VCCs down here. Okay, so we got continuity down there. We know we're good. Okay, maybe check some other VCC spots, depending on where your board is. On mine, I ended up having to, I ended up determining that, okay, this board with the joystick on it is good. X52 controller joystick looks good so far. So that made me believe, okay, so maybe it's the main board here. So what I did from here was I checked to see what voltage is. So I know that there's somewheres in between here and the main motherboard that I'm not getting my 5 volts or close to my 5 volts out. So what I started doing was I started probing around. As you can see here, we have our VCC and our ground. So these cables are bent downwards, and you couldn't even, if you looked at it, you wouldn't even tell that it was broken. So what I found out was that this little jumper cable that goes from this VCC down to this VCC was broken. Now, maybe it's not broken up here, it could be broken down here. If that's the case, you can always do a continuity check between here and here to see if you're getting continuity. If you got continuity between this pad and this pad, then you know something. So that right there is good. Same with your ground. You want to check if your ground. Maybe you want to check with your other COM ports or your pulse ports. Okay, so another way you would want to check is to see if this VCC right here, if this VCC has continuity with this VCC. Now, so put your ohm meter on continuity. That's my continuity. I know if I touch, I get a faint beep, or you'll see like some numbers changing here. Now if I don't get continuity, like this is no continuity right now, this is continuity. So you'd want to check to see if your VCC and this VCC has continuity. So we have continuity between the PS2 cable for here and here. So now moving on to my next probe, which is where this jumper cable, this VCC jumper cable, leaves here and goes onto the main motherboard here to another VCC. So there's some glue on here. I just want to pry away that glue. There's some glue, so just all I wanted to do was stick that in and VCC. Nothing. Nothing at all. Maybe move it around a little bit. Nothing. So now I know from here to here is my issue. I'm getting no power whatsoever to my second unit. Even though the indicator light shows on, I'm getting no power. So what I have to do is on this board, on the throttle, I'm going to have to resolder my VCC in my slot here, or the VCC spot. The cable broke off, so all I got to do is take my soldering iron and resolder onto my VCC. Okay, so now that I've soldered my VCC back together by doing a continuity check between here to here, I determined that this pin was broken. I just resoldered that jumper cable back to the through hole. Now let's give it a test to see if my controller is working properly now. That's lighting up. That's a good sign. Now let's plug in our PS2 cable. Just plugged in that one, and as you can tell, I am just about to plug it in right now. As you can tell, that has resolved my issue. My lights are now currently up. Power light, even though the power light LED is on now, I truly have power. You can also do a VCC to ground test to see if you're getting the 4.0 It'll vary between 4 and 5 volts usually. Might be more 5 volts, just a little bit. But as you can tell, everything's looks good so far. But who's to say that maybe the controller's not working? To see if the controller's working, now we're going back to the HOTUS. Just click Properties, and let's see. Joystick left, right, up, down, triggers. Little fire switch. Yep. Everything is looking everything's looking good.